Hello, good morning. My name is Mohamed Dabo, and I'm gonna demonstrate today how to set up your home lab to be able to install Windows Server 2019 Active Directory domain. And first, we're gonna start with I'm gonna be using VMware WorkStation Pro, and you can decide to use VirtualBox or you can decide to use Hyper-V. It's all the same. So first, I'm going to show you my um, workstation. So the go to right click my start and go to systems, and from there you can see I'm using 16 GB memory. um, yeah, I'm going to use dual core i7 processor for um, for this computer. So now first I'm going to start my Windows VMware workstation, then set up my network adapters networks to separate the communication between machines and also the storage. Now first, to edit my default virtual network, I'm going to click on virtual network editor. Then from there we're going to have default of NAT and host only networks, but I want to use my specific network configuration. Then from there, we can decide to add a new network, or you can decide to use the existing networks here. You can set up your virtual network IPs, and we're gonna be using iSCSI storage network to be using iSCSI adapters. So we're gonna create a network for that, and we can click on Add Network, and we can select the virtual network. We can say we're gonna use you can use any number that you want. Click on VNet 10, click on OK, and we're going to use this VNet 10 for storage only network. So we're going to use, let's say, the storage network is going to be 10.10.10.0 network, and it's going to be 24 network slash 24. And we're going to make sure that the storage network is going to communicate with host only private network. Then from there we click on OK. So this one is going to be our um, NAT network, and we're using 192.168 dot one network. So we click on OK here, then we wait for it for the network to install. Then now, to create a new virtual machine with VMware Workstation, we have to click on File, New Virtual Machines. Then we you can use typical if you want, but you can if you want to edit some configurations, you can use on custom advanced. We click on custom and we click on next here. Then we're gonna use VMware 17x workstation, and the limitations there is 128 GB memory for the virtual machine, 32 gig processor, 10 network adapters, 8 TB disk size, and we have 8 GB shared graphic memory. Then from there we click on next, and we can decide to install the OS later, and or you can decide to install it now, but by browsing the iOS image. Then from there we browse the iOS image. It's in the downloads. We click on it and we click on open here, that we select it, and we click on next. Then we're gonna use Windows Server 2019 data center. So with the default name we can say, okay, my default name is gonna be admin, or we can say um, the name is gonna be user1. Then we can set our password. We repeat the password again. Then we can decide to log on, for it to log on automatically. We click on next here, then we click on yes, and we enter our virtual machine name. It's gonna be W2K19 DC01, and we're gonna browse the location of where we want to save this virtual machine. We go to desktops, documents, then we can decide to create new folder there. By clicking here, we have a new folder. So you enter the folder name, we select VLab. Then inside the VLab, we can create another folder there. We have DC01. So that the virtual machine will be stored in this location, and so that we can organize our virtual machine files. It's very, very important. Then we click on OK. Then we click on next here. Then we select UEFI um, firmware type. Then we click on next. We can set the processor to be two number of processors and two cores per processor. That will give us a total of four processor cores. Then we click on next here. Then we can set to use you can decide to increase your your RAM if you have more RAM, but I'm using 16 GB, so I'm going to use 2 gig for it, 2048 GB memory for the virtual machine. So we can decide to use NAT configuration, or we can decide to add the network later, or to use host only network. So we're going to use NAT configuration. So we only have one NAT. Then we click on next. Logic LSI logic SAS recommended. So we click on next here. Then we select the disk type. We select NVE, NVMe. We click on next. Now to create a new virtual hard disk, we have to click on create a new virtual hard disk. But if we are having an existing hard disk that we can use as master image, master hard disk, so we can use that. Then we can create a new virtual hard disk. Then we set the virtual hard disk can be it depends on your storage, because I'm using 128 gig SSD. So I'm going to use 40 and set the not to allocate all the 40 gig at once. So we're going to use dynamic expanding memory. So we click on store virtual disk as a single file. Then we click on next. Then we browse the location of where we want to store this virtual machine. So we're going to put it on the same folder where we have the HLab folder, we have the DC folder. Now we can say we can decide to create a new folder and call it DC1, DC01 VMDK. That is the virtual disk file, virtual machine disk file. Then we click on save here. Then we click on next. So we can decide to customize your settings. You can decide to change your settings if you want. Then we click on next here. We click on the power on virtual machine after creation. Then we click on finish. So this is going to create the virtual machine and power it up, and we're going to start the installation of now Windows Server 2019. Um, let's wait for the setup to start. So the setup is starting. If I was using more RAM, I can use 4 gig. It depends, 6 gig. It depends on how you want to use your RAM. Remember, the virtual RAM is going to be coming from the host machine. So the setup is starting. So it's going to copy the Windows files, then get the files ready to install features, install updates. Then we finish the installation. If I was using the installation is ongoing. The installation is ongoing. The installation is ongoing. Now it's 48%. Now it's 48%. Now the server is gonna start after finishing installation. If you want, you can just click on restart now. So we click on restart now. So now the installation is complete. So we can right click here, the start button, and go to system. Then we will see the amount of memory that we have, 2 gig, and it's using the AMD processor. And we can use the server manager to rename the computer, and we set the post configuration for the preparation of installing Windows Active Directory domain. So click on local server, then we click on the computer name. Then we can decide to change the computer name from here. Now we said, okay, this one is going to be W2K19-DC01 as the computer name. We click on OK, then click on OK here, then we click on close. But we will want to do some changes also when it comes to the network, so that we can use static IP for the domain controller. So we click on IPv4, then we can set this one to be the LAN01 network adapter, or LN01 for network adapter. So we can right click and go to properties, and we set the IP version that we're going to use for this. We're going to click on OK, IPv4. Then we click on properties. Then we've gonna say, okay, we're gonna use 192.168.1.10, and we're gonna be using class class C IP subnet mask. We're gonna use the same IP for the DNS because it's gonna be our domain controller. So we can set 127.0.0.1. This is a loopback IP. It means it's gonna use the same IP address as the 192.168.1.10. Then we click on OK here. Then we click on close here. Then that's how to set up our network, and we can decide to restart the computer now for the changes to take effect. Now we log in with the user one, and we enter our password. Now when we click on the server manager, you will see that the changes have taken effect for the network and the server name. We click on local server, you see W2K19 has changed, and our IP configuration is also changed. We can decide to disable the IPv6, and we only use IPv4 on the network adapter. We can right click here and go to properties. Then we click on here to disable the IPv6. We wanted to use only IPv4. So when we come back to here, we refresh. We should only have the IP address of the machine. Now, from there, we can decide to have multiple adapters, network adapters, to create nick team if you want, and we're gonna do that in next video. Thank you. Bye bye.